The reasoning behind run and scream is building up your vocal cords, building up your inner stamina. For the kids to be running and screaming at the same time is sort of like almost getting them ready for song. Really, you're only supposed to take one breath. You run as far as you can, screaming at the top of your lungs, and once you're out of breath and you're done screaming, and you stop right there, and then that's where you mark your spot. So, and then the next person in line tries to does the same thing. One breath, screams as loud as they could, and then once they're out of their breath, they stop. And it's just a basic, contest to see who goes the furthest and scream the loudest, I guess you could say. If you just want to do the game quickly, you could find a branch or break off some branches, whatever's available for you that day or in that area or circumstances, I guess you could say. One of the concepts for that game is just to let your inner negativity and your stress and everything that's balled up inside you, just let it go. It's a stress reliever. You could yell at the top of your lungs and nobody's going to tell you, hey, be quiet. Maybe the kid is frustrated about maybe their friends or something like that. They run along and screaming, and it makes them feel good.
When I make sticks, I cut them roughly about probably, I would say 5 to 6 inches. Using Savis berries, using choke cherries, willows. I really like working with willows because willows have a really great scent, right? I cut a stick about maybe 6 inches. I make one end sharp so it can stab in the ground. And then I put them roughly about 4 to 6 feet apart, right behind each other, 4 sticks. Then the participant stands roughly about maybe 6 to 8 feet back. So you use a ball and you stand. And the further you hit, the further stick you hit, the more points you get. So the closer stick to you, the less points you get. Now this ball can roll up to the stick or it can just one bounce, however it may be, as long as you make that stick jump. I always put some pony beads at the end, or some type of beads or something that'll show that stick jumped, you know what I mean? When I teach throwing games, I always make sure I point. Just like a baseball player, just like a pitcher, he always points to his target. You step with your opposite foot and then you throw. I'm left-handed, so I always point with my right side, I step with my right foot, and then I throw, so I can have a follow-through, right? And you always come back to as far as you can. You don't just throw it just like this. You always give it your best, right? Come all the way back, point, and then throw.
Sling ball is a racing game. So you use a ball with a tail, and you place the tail between your feet, facing away from the direction you want to go, and then you roll backwards and throw your feet above your head and release the tail of the ball, launching it behind you, and you repeat that process until you've completed the race. So the balls that we use here at the International Traditional Games Society are just hacky sacks that we've emptied and refilled with sand inside of a balloon and then sewed a tail onto. The tails that we use are braided yarn, about 8 inches long. Kids can find it difficult to get the tail of the ball firmly between their feet as they go backwards, and a lot of times they'll think they threw it really far, but they'll find that it's just on the ground at their feet. Just the initial rolling over, a lot of times they'll get really excited about it and go all the way over, and it's kind of surprising to them, but it's always fun to watch.
When I play hoop and arrow, again, I always space children out. If I have more than 12 kids, I double them up. I try to keep my groups as small as possible. If you have 20 kids, you partner them up, one kid behind each other, and they just switch every time, And when I usually teach kids to line up in a straight line, I tell them, okay, so when you line up, you put your hands out. And if your hands are touching while you're too close, you move over, so it spreads the kids out. So it gives one kid enough room to throw his arrow. Then you would balance that arrow, because you always got to find the middle of that arrow. You balance it, then you would hold it. When you throw it, you want it to fly straight, right? So you would always balance it on your hand, then you would hold it like a pencil. And when I play hoop and arrow, I always tell kids, get as low as you can. And even if you want to get on one knee, you know, you get on one knee, you put the opposite knee up, so it'll give you better accuracy. You can throw a sidearm, if that's a lot better, or you can throw just straight over your shoulder. You know, and then when you stand out, one person stands at the end and he rolls that hoop right to the end.
Originally, this was one of the targets that the Salish people use. And what they do is they could throw it, and where the students fire into these different holes, and obviously this is a bullseye. So there's different pointing, and there's different ways. In the Blackfoot hoop and arrow game, it's about this size. And so the children would chase the little hoop. So instead of having rows of people shooting from either side as the hoop flies down the middle of them, they would have individual where they would each have their own little hoop and then firing with a longer arrow.
So we always have to play these games to actually build our skills, right? Build our skills so we can go out hunting, we can feed all our people, you know, we can protect our land, we can protect our animals, everything like that.
The children and the students play the game one-on-one, and they look for this little rock. In the game, the students play for 3 sticks. So they would start off and they would hide. Some people get really elaborate. They hide under hats or scarves, and then come out and hide, and then point me. It's either this hand or this hand. There's a 50-50 chance. So if you pointed me this way, you would have missed me. Ah! Woo! And I would have got stick. And then if you pointed me this way, you would have guessed me, and I would have had to give my rock to you. So every time that they don't get guessed, they get away, they would earn a stick until they win all 3 of them.
You're observing, you're paying attention to patterns, you're reading the person's body language, but at the same time you listen to your intuition and you learn to trust that if it's telling you that it's in a certain area, a certain place.
In these games, our children learn how to get along with each other. They learn how to read people and develop their communication skills. So it could either take a few minutes or up to, some of these games take hours and even days.
On the smooth dirt or sand at the edge of the river, the kids would dig a hole in the sand in one place, and then about 20 feet down the river, another hole. And the idea of the stonehouse game is that 3 river stones that are flat and about as big as the palm of their hands would be placed in there, and that was their house, their teepee, their home. And the idea was to take them to their new home safely, one rock at a time, very carefully. So the okotoks or rocks were transported to their new home one at a time. They had to be laid down gently, transported gently, laid down gently, and be in exactly the same place as they started. And this was a reflection, we understood, of how the Plains people cared for their possessions as they took them from one place to the next. And home was not a home until everything was in its right place and it was was always transported respectfully, and it was always put into its proper place. So when you walked in, it was a complete home. It was so challenging. The kids and the adults couldn't read the stones that well, and if a stone is fairly round, they couldn't tell it was exactly the same position in the house. So we added pictographs from the region and sometimes the winter count, so they were learning other things, but it helped them visually place those stones in the right place.
And so what we're going to do is one person in your team of 3 is going to tell a story with the stones, and they're going to place them in a particular way, and it might be helpful if you think about the directions, north, east, south, and west. And the most important thing is we don't want to hear clicking of the rocks, banging of the rocks. Everything is sacred. And then another person is going to be the observer of the story and the placement of the rocks, and then the third person is the judge. They're watching the story be told, and they're watching the placement of the rocks, so it's really good observational skills. Once the person has told their story and has placed their rocks, then the person that's watching is going to move the teepee over here and move each rock and place it exactly where it was placed. And once all the rocks are placed, you're going to retell the story, and the judge is going to be watching to make sure it was done correctly.
Just use a lip, or you can cut like a whole, like, I don't know how back home actually. You use ash, you use some kind of ash. You can use others, but I've never done it with like.
European variation is called cat's cradle. I think that's what it's called. You know, that's what we're playing. We made a drum. You can make a teepee. So anytime you would work with these games, you would always tell stories to them, right? Because Blackfoot people always told stories to whatever they were taught. When we painted, our paintings always had stories. When we sang, you know, there's stories in our songs, right? It builds a child's mind, right? It helps them to be creative, so they can bring out their creativity side.
So you tie up 2 people together, they have to try to get out without like untying anything. It's pretty fun to watch.
It was a capturing game. You know, when you capture the enemy, you would tie them up, and if they can get out, well, they can go back to their people. But if they can't get out, if they need help, they would just slowly be integrated into the tribe, and it'll be adopted into the tribe. That's how you build up your tribe. When I do the string games, I always emphasize teamwork. I always emphasize communication. I always emphasize brainstorming, you know, so kids can always practice those ways, right? They always have to work together to solve problems, you know, and the string game or the capturing game, that's what it's all about, you know. If 2 kids were bad, well, parents would put them together and they would tie them up. You know, if they can get out of it, they can get out of it. But it helps those children bond. It helps them build a friendship, build teamwork, eh?
We did it!
Oh, dude, we lying either. I just see it though.
We know how to do it now. Step through your...
Let's just... Oh, see it there.
Same way that I had it before. Oh, wait, I guess that's this way. That's it. We did it! Ready to go. One.
You have a center pole, and that is the goal for both teams, and it's divided into 3 sections. The bottom section is worth 1 point, the middle section 2 points, and the top section 3 points. And there's a ring around the pole about 10 feet out, and only the youngest children are allowed inside of the ring. and they're able to use any means they can to score, to hit that bottom of the pole or to throw it to the top. The second division of team is the older children, and they have to stay outside of that red circle. But other than that, they can use any means necessary to score. The third division is the women, and they have to stay outside of that red circle as well. They can't be rough with the lower divisions. They can get in their way, and that's all. Otherwise, they can use any means necessary to score. And the fourth division is the men, who can only get in the way of the lower divisions, who they can't push or be rough with them at all. And in fact, they have to use the traditional lacrosse sticks to catch and throw the ball, whereas the other divisions can use their hands.
The only thing we can do as men is stand our ground. That's about it. If one of the women comes up and yanks a stick out of our hand, or one of the kids does, or maybe they get a little rough with, you know.
They grab your arm.
You grab your arm.
You really kind of have to just have that humility and accept it, because humility is one of our values, one of our teachings.
If the men use anything but the sticks, then their points won't count. And a lot of times this game results in the youngest division winning, because they can get in that inner circle. And the cool part is that the longer you play it, the more you can see those children developing strategy, and the quicker and easier they win.
So there'll be 4 people playing from each group. Woo!
Okay, take it, stop.
To that old
So a lot of times these games will be used to solve conflict, to avoid any type of violence, direct violence. And that would happen in the case of any kind of territorial dispute over homeland, or any kind of grievance that one tribe maybe felt against another, as though maybe they were injured by another tribe or a band. And so these games would be employed to resolve that conflict. And sometimes whole tribes would play against each other, and you'd have a field that's 3 miles long with 100 people on each team, and the winner of the game won the decision of the conflict.
Double ball was played with a whole group of kids. You know, it can be played with 2 tribes. The whole concept of double ball is to work as a team. You know, it's a team game. It's similar to lacrosse. It's similar to field hockey, but it's only played with a stick and a double ball, a ball that's basically sold together.
There's different ways that people make the double ball. Some people will just cut off 2 pieces of wood while they're cutting their double ball stick, and they'll just cut the 2 pieces of wood and then join them with the leather or with the sinew.
When you start, you would all stand in the middle and you would make a teepee with your stick. Then the ref would throw it in the air and you would catch it, you know.
When we're scoring, if you go under, it's 1 point. The best score is if you can ring the stick like that. And then number 2 is if you go over the top of it like that. But it has to be within those 2 parameters right there. So you can't come from behind and expect to score.
Wancha, Nompa, Yamne. Go, go, go! Get in there! Get in there! Come! Lead the kid! Lead the kid! Watch those shins! Watch those shins!
So in this game, when we first start out, there's multiple different ways that you can do this depending on the tribe and the region, but this is one of the most common one that we use. We'll set the ball there, and they're going to hit the stick, and usually we'll have them count in their language. Okay.
It's that Morning Star. Where the foot's up?
So with these sticks, what we don't want is for people to high swing. So usually a general rule is that they stay below their waist. Most of our games we don't have out of bounds unless it's like a situation where there's a road or something that it might be a safety concern. Otherwise, the ball is still in play even if it goes past the goals or out of the way of the field. If you score from the back in most of our games, that's a point for the other team. To my knowledge, from what we've studied with this game, is that it is where hockey originated from. There are people that will try to say that hockey originated from Europe, but we have all kinds of historical accounts of this game being played throughout North America. And there are accounts of Dakota boys playing on the ice back in the 1700s, and you're going to see different variations of it from the regions of where you go, the materials in which you use. So this is a cedar shaft that you use from a cedar sapling that would be on the western side of the Rocky Mountains. A lot of the Salish people, that's what they use. Over on this side, you would choke cherry would be common. With the juniper and a choke cherry, the root system naturally curves. So all you do is dig this up, cut it to the length you want, and clean it up, and you have yourself a stick. And just like a lot of our other games, it was used for conflict resolution, community gatherings, just many different purposes of why they would play this game.
Look at that ball and score. Oh, good. Hit it, little no goalies, no goalies. Hit it this way. Hit it towards their back. They're stepping on that ball. Watch those shits. Watch those shits. Yeah. Go score. Go score. Score.
Hey guys and gals, it's your buddy Drew with Living History's Mysteries and Three-Eyed Raven Productions. You know, when I started the channel back in 2019, I wanted to be a good influence on people. I wanted to educate folks, but I also wanted to help people. With the Christmas season fastly approaching, I wanted to do something we've never done before. When we had our baby shower for our granddaughter this past Sunday out at the Center for Aging here in Cass, Michigan, I noticed in the main lobby was a Toys for Tots box. And the lady at the front desk told me that one Marine, single man, hasn't seen service in over 20 years. Every year, he spends almost an entire check and brings in toys and cash donations and stuff for just that one box. And she says even though he does this every year, it's cold out here. It's enough for only a few families. And she said there's so many more folks to help. She wished more people would get involved. And it got me thinking. We have got such an amazing family on this channel. Why don't we try to help where we can? Why don't we become that positive influence and help folks that are a little less fortunate than us? So I decided to come up here to Santa's Workshop, the training facility right here at the North Pole. And as you can see, there's training going on. New deer are being trained. It's a happy place. It's a place for giving. It's a place for positively influencing individuals and making Christmas season even more merry. So I figured, why don't we give it a shot? If you guys are interested in helping out, trying to make a family or more than one family, you know something? Instead of just doing the Toys for Tots thing, if we have enough come in donations between now and, let's say, the 15th of December, we'll not only make a cash donation to Toys for Tots, but we'll also adopt a family right here in our local county. The more people we can help, the better it makes us feel. So, if you want to help out and you want to donate, you can send your cash donations right here. The same PayPal account we always use. The money will be going to help the less fortunate, the needy. Might even give a Christmas dinner to a family who just can't do it otherwise. If you would like to make donations of toys and stuff and send them to me, get a hold of me at this email address. And we'll be more than happy to go through, wrap these presents up, and take care of all the legwork. So there you have it, guys. There's the special announcement. I know it's coming a little early. It's not even Turkey Day yet. That's not till next Thursday, a week from today. So like I said, if you want to make a cash donation and you want to help out with a Toys for Tot donation and the Adopt a Family program for 2022-23 winter season, you can do the cash donations right here, the same PayPal account we always use. And if you want to do a toy donation or something and you want to mail them to me, we'll take care of the wrapping. We'll take care of the donating. Get a hold of me right here at this email address, and I'll get you a mailing address for that, where that stuff can be sent. So there you have it, guys. That's my big plan for the 2022-2023 Christmas season. We work together. We put our heads together. We can make this Christmas different for some very special kids. But Santa and his deer, gotta put them through the ropes. But alright, guys, that's it. Y'all take care. Have a happy Thanksgiving and a merry holiday season. Jesus.